Welcome to the PSGL F3 Championship. We're back. What promises to be another thrilling race of night racing indeed. The championship is wide open after a truly dramatic start to the season. Our previous leader, Jeroen Visser, has been promoted to the top of the standings and now in a fierce battle in F1. And also, Not Luke currently leads the pack with Walls right behind on his tail, and the rest of the grid is ready to pass as well. Our last race at the Imola Grand Prix was a spectacular one, with Autumn taking a stunning victory and Luke snatching P2 on the last lap because Lars van der Linden literally ran out of tyres, and therefore Walls almost got it too. But tonight we head to the iconic home of British motorsport, the legendary Silverstone circuit for the British Grand Prix. This is a true test of a driver's courage and skill, which is fast flowing layouts and famous high-speed corners like Maggots, Copse and Beckett's. This track measures 5 kilometres, and with the high speed and unforgiving nature of these corners, drivers have to prepare to avoid penalties and stay at the tarmac, and also keep it nice and tidy as well, because it is a qualifying session here in Silverstone. And alongside tonight as well, as always, after missing the Hungarian Grand Prix, his name is Milan Langer. How are you doing, mate? Nice to have you back in the commentary box.
Thank you very much. I'm doing all right, and it's great to be back after missing last week. But yeah, Silverstone is a track I quite enjoy, and it's always a great track for racing as well, and not only on the game but in real life as well, just like we've seen this season with a wet British Grand Prix. And it is raining right now in qualifying, so it looks like we're going to have an intermediate session, but it is going to spice things up. I don't know what the weather will be for the race, so some drivers might opt for a dry setup if the race is going to be run in the dry, so that is going to make it very interesting indeed in this qualifying session, because it is quite a difficult track to master in the wet.
Oh yes, it is indeed as well. Very, very difficult as well. So the drivers there try to be cautious on their first laps, try to get a feel for the track as well with this 80-minute qualifier session. Then we usually know that Haas is really good as well, taking pole position. Luke has taken pole multiple times, but unfortunately couldn't convert it into a race win. Something just tends to happen as well in the Grand Prix. Same with his teammate Polimachi. Polimachi retired from the race due to an incident with the AI. Unfortunately, I think he left the session. Then his AI crashed out of the race, which wasn't good news for him either. But our person we want to talk about the most is Arthur, because he showed up to Imola, took pole and won the race as well by a good gap, and controlling it as well ahead of Vettel. Great strategy call, great pace, and he's truly continuing the McLaren's winning streak, because McLaren currently got 4 wins in a row. Jeroen's got 3 of them, and Artem has picked up 1 then. So McLaren looking very, very strong so far this season. Can anybody dethrone them? About to find out in this qualifying session. Usually it is a typical wet day in the UK, but recently as well in the United Kingdom it is very, very hot as well. Temperatures are 30 degrees. I was absolutely sweating as well. And this summer hasn't been too bad, because we've had loads and loads of heat waves, but at the same time the heat waves in the UK are quite different to other countries. I'm not quite sure what it is in the air that makes the UK heat so hot and morbid. But here today, it's going to be a true test of the testament of the drivers here to see what they could do on their flying lap. So the first driver out there so far, I think it's the LP driver of Jaden. So Jaden is back, and I think he was one of the highest finishers back in RT at the Imola Grand Prix too. So Jaden there slowly but surely trying to get his season underway. It's been a slow start so far to the season for Jaden, but let's see how he does then on the flying lap. 5.8 kilometres around this circuit then as we go on board then with the LP driver towards the last corner, where we saw Sonny Hayes, Kevin Magnussen and Albon crash there in the final corner in 2020 as we head through turn 1 and turn 2. Used to have DRS on that way straight, but due to safety reasons it's been deactivated as we head in towards turn 3. This is where the drivers then might struggle, because it's a heavy traction zone, tiptoeing his way through the different conditions as we head through turn 4 and turn 5. Through the loop we go. You can see just being gingered in the throttle there, a bit of wheel spin on the exit as he misses the apex, and he goes out wide. But luckily for him, he does not validate on that lap time, so a bit of time lost there for Jaden already on this lap with a 31.2 in the first set as we head down towards Brooklyn. He's taking a very wide angle indeed, didn't connect with the apex on the entry as we now head towards Luffield. They're just taking a wider line, because you don't want to go too acute through there, because you won't be able to go in a straight line and get on the throttle as you would if you go all the way to the inside, and you might lose traction. Here we go through Woodcut, nice and easy flat tire, but let's see what happens into Copse. I don't think it's flat tire, especially in these conditions, just to lift off into 6th, but usually in normal circumstances it is a flat tire corner as we make our way now towards Maggots, Beckett and Channel. Is it still flat tire? In the first part it is, but just gradually lifted off there. He is building confidence. This is the driver's first laps. I'm not quite sure how much wet practice they've done, so they want to take it nice and easily. Don't overdo it, don't push too hard, and get that reference on the board there to compare their lap times with themselves and other people and build up the confidence throughout the qualifying session. Don't push too hard in the early stages as we now head towards Stowe. We go a bit hesitant there. You can see the rear end kicking out a bit as we make our way now towards the final 3 corners on this racetrack. The slow speed section, we've seen plenty of overtaking here too, if you can't get it down into Stowe. As here we are out of the final 2 corners, you go fighting for traction all the way through, as this first lap time is going to be a 39.7, as he has a massive slide out of the final corner too, which is going to cost him dearly. And Mattia Manga replaces him immediately by 7/10 of a second there as well. So a 39.0, as we've got more coming across the line to start or complete their first flying laps.
Yeah, all struggling for grip in these first flying up. You never know how bad the conditions are and what the grip levels are going to be, as Arden goes quick, so 138.0 goes a second quicker than anyone else, but his teammate follows closely behind. Diogo Silva with a 38.5, so the McLaren's looking quite comfortable early on in this qualifying session, as Papine goes second, missed out by a few hundredths of a second compared to Arden with 38.1. Lars Ladin goes up to P4 in the Williams, also in the 138s. Everyone out there on track getting their lap times in. I expect drivers to go for multiple laps in a row, as Bonamachi goes quickest, and he's the first one to go into the 137s, but quickly gets replaced there by Wards with a 37.4. The times are coming in thick and fast right now in qualifying. Everyone out there on track just getting the lap times in lap after lap after lap, and getting used to the grip levels here in these wet conditions. But at the moment, Wards out there on provisional pole position by 0.5 of a second, but I do expect the lap times to go down throughout this session. 12 minutes still to go, so a lot of time to get used to these track conditions. Keke Indy Williams is out on his lap as well, making his way through maggots and in the dry, and the wets of course as well. And now making his way down the hanger straight into the final sector. He will go. Stowe is up next. A very quick right-hander. Let's see how he is going to tackle it. Misses the apex slightly, but it's alright on the exit. Oh, slightly invalidates there as he runs a little bit too wide, and he's forced to go for another lap, but he has the time to do so. Currently down in P17. In the meantime, Wessel has gone to second place with a 137.7 and puts himself on the front row for now.
We had a one-shot qualifier back in Imola because the best conditions were at the very start, where the rain was impacting the circuit, and therefore drivers had one opportunity only. It's so difficult as well, because when you have that one opportunity around a track like Imola, it's so difficult to the lap time, because you want to keep it in with the white lines, also getting that best possible lap time. Nick is up into P3, had a whole show unfortunately back at the Imola Grand Prix, so let's see if there's any redemption there for the Red Bull driver. Vessel again doing a great job. Did a great job as well last time out at the Imola Grand Prix. I think he just shy of a podium, because Lars van der Linden did the undercut and it worked to his advantage. He put himself up into P2, chasing down I think Alton, but Alton broke the DRS after he overtook him, and therefore Lars was left in the clutches, and he almost got overtaken the last lap as well, because somebody behind him, I think was Vessel, was so close to overtaking. His tyres were going off a cliff there, literally as well. So let's see what Lars can do. He's had relatively good results so far, P4 in Belgium as well, so that's a good result for him, and Austria too. So let's see if he can keep up with his good form with a podium as well back at the Imola Grand Prix. Could that boost his confidence? I wonder. Could he get himself inside the championship fight? Because remember, Juventus Visit is no longer here tonight, so it's a big chapel for P2, battle for P2 all the way down as well. So keep an eye on that, as let's see, Juventus Visit is still technically leading the championship, but that's because he's got a massive margin. The gap between first and second is actually about, I think, 17 points between those two, but obviously that will be brought down as well, because there's still a long round to go in this season, so every point's offer there for the drivers to take. I would have opportunities as well. Luke's been an interesting one to watch recently, because he's got such good pace. Like I mentioned with Poliamachi, just something always tends to happen for those two, unfortunately, whether it's contact or something, the wrong strategy, getting caught up in the midfield there as well, or lag, especially for Polymachi's sake. So I really hope Haas can get their first win of the season, because they deserve it. They showed some really good pace. So Diogo Silva has gone up into P3, Jade has gone up into P2 in the Alpine, but not Luke. Luke is currently 9/10 up in the first sector. They continue his way down into Stowe. Diogo Silva too is another driver who has been suffering so much this season. Former F2 driver, and it hasn't really been on form this season. Only scored points, I think, once back in Saudi Arabia, but he did finish 12th place in Austria, so I think it might count as a point for him as well. But yeah, last time out in F2, he was looking very, very quick, but on this game, it just seems to be struggling a bit. Here comes Luke now towards the final corner. He goes. It's P1. Only just by 5 thousandths of a second, 5.8 kilometers in these tricky conditions, and yeah, there's still a close proximity of each other. That's just incredible, the margins around a track like this, where it's so difficult. Here comes his Haas teammate Podimachi towards the line. It's a 36.8, and he obliterates that lap time. Provisional pole, it's a Haas 1-2 by about 0.6 of a second there. 10 minutes left to call it. 10 minutes have gone, 8 minutes left in this qualifying session. The two Hasses so far seem to be the one to beat. Let's see if anybody out there can beat them. Wessel.
Yeah, great lap there by Podium. Wessel is making his way out of the final corner. He's up by a few tenths of a second. Let's see what he can do as he will cross the line right now. He goes fastest there, 36.7, and he beats Podium by just under a tenth of a second. I was just going to say before Podium said his lap time how close it was to get the entire top 8 or 10 within half a second in these wet conditions, but now Wessel and Podium have absolutely blown away the rest of the field. But I can imagine the rest of the drivers will be setting quicker lap times as well as the session continues on. Diogo Silva into the pit lane as well. Those drivers out there on track. Lars van der Linde has just started his flying lap. He's currently down in P12. So it's going to keep an eye out on what he can do on his flying lap. Keke as well down at P17. He goes up to P3 with a great improvement. And sets now 6 tenths of a second behind Wessel in the Ferrari. So what about his teammate Lars van der Linde making his way out of Sector 1? Is up by 6 tenths already through that first part of the track. But he needs to find 2 seconds at least to be able to beat Wessel on this particular lap. Making his way out of the loop and onto the following straight towards Kopp's corner we will go. And that is always a tricky corner in the wet. In the dry it's pretty easy, it's flat out. In the wet not so much, as he throws his Williams in there. And he finds the grip surprisingly, but runs out slightly wide as a snap mid-corner. And as he corrects it, just outside the track limits. And unfortunately has invalidated, so this lap will not count. And he is going to have to try again. Later on in this session, Jaden in the Alpine also appears to be on a lap right now. Currently sat in P6. Let's see if he is going to be able to find an improvement as the car ahead of him, Ward, just starts his flying lap as well to try and improve. But Jaden making his way out of the second sector. Let's see, has he found any more time? Yes, he has. 7.5 tenths of a second. If he finds half a tenth in the final sector, he will be going towards provisional pole position. But he doesn't need to make a mistake in these final few corners out of Stowe and into the final chicane, slowest part of this track. To the left and to the right again, and this traction zone is really tricky in the wet. Have to be really careful putting the power down, but he has done so nicely. And Jaden crosses the line, he goes fastest, 136.424, and is 3 tenths clear of anyone else right now.
He is indeed then final up on intermediates, and Jaden's going quicker and quicker as well. So that's the way to do it around here, to go and keep doing laps on the intermediate compound tyres, because they don't warm up as significantly as the soft compound tyres like over here. As Lucas goes quickest with a 35.885 then, so that's a blistering lap time there. 6 tenths separated him and Jaden. So it's LP1-2 so far. Looks like the conditions get better as Ward, look at him, in the middle sector is 1.7 up, I believe it said. I don't think he's going to get dry, but Pepine goes quicker now with a 35.791. So all these drivers here finding confidence, finding the time as well towards the last stage of qualifying. Devils and Mattia Manga, P16 and P17 is Bolpia. It's 50 place to the man who is currently sitting P3 in the championship, or P4 should I say now, after missing around. Here goes Ward towards the line he goes. It's a 35.4, and that is provisional pole for him as well. So the track's getting better and better as well. It wasn't as treacherous as it was at the beginning of the qualifying. These drivers finding more confidence, finding more grip, and there's 5 minutes left to go in this session. Let's see if anybody else out there currently is on a lap. I can't really see anybody. Nick in the Red Bull, he's headed back in the pit lane then, and Devils is down to P17 in the Aston Martin then, 39.4. So definitely looking for an improvement. It's been a struggle there for Devils, it must be said. Yes, he's had good pace at the first race in the Austrian Grand Prix, finished in 8th place and 10th in Belgium, but other than that, DNS is a DNS as well. So Devils just can't seem to get his way in this league so far, or in this division, shall I say. So let's see if his fortunes change. Well, the biggest outlier for me is Artem, Nick, Lars, Bompia as well. They're all down there. People expect to see his Devils there, just drifting in towards Stowe he goes, and almost spinning the car, which he saves it. But 4 minutes left to go on the clock. Then can anybody else find the time? I think. Who else is out there so far to flying lap? Nobody. So everybody's back in the pit lane, puts on their last set of intermediate compound tyres and get the car going. And let's see who can take pole around here. So far, provisional pole goes to Wards, who has done an incredible job this season too. It must be said, Wards has really shown some good pace in the last few races too. Picked up a podium back in the Belgian Grand Prix, went under the radar in that race too. But he finished P5, I think, back in Imola too, just behind the podium sitters. So I think I think it was at the time Wessel and Lars van der Linde too. So qualifying then, coming towards the dying stages a bit, and hopefully we'll see a massive stampede out on the circuit. Let's see what Luke's doing. So he's coming down in towards turn 3 right now, then on another flying lap here in the Haas. So P9 for him. He has taken pole previously as well in the past few races, has Luke as well, but he hasn't managed to convert it into a win. Took pole back in Belgium, but unfortunately spun behind a driver on slower cars. Took pole back in Saudi Arabia, but still couldn't convert it into a win either. So let's see if he can try and better it. It's 5 tenths up already in the first set, so this track is definitely improving as well, as the drivers are finding more and more grip, pushing the limits of the car as it takes a wide angle going in towards Luffield, then gets back in the power, seems to be okay. No signs of wheel spin, no signs of oversteer as well, as he gets stamps on the loud pedal, use the batteries as we head in towards Cops. I don't think it's flat out just yet, but I think a slight lift off is necessary. Down into towards 6th gear, a bit of hesitation going towards Cops there, but at least he doesn't invalidate at the exit of it too, as now we're heading towards Maggots and Beckett's and Chapel we go. Let's see if he takes it very nicely, flicking the car in, carrying the speed he needs to as well, making sure keeps within the white lines, hitting the apex very nicely. His middle sector is 1.5 seconds up, maybe a little bit more time in the last sector if Luke wants a chance at pole, as he heads now in towards Stowe. This fast right-hander down to 5th gear, flip the car in, carry the speed all the way through, back of the throttle as well. Very nicely done there for Luke, and let's see if he can keep it nice and tidy in this heavy traction zone, because it's very easy to slip up at this particular part of the racetrack as well. Short shifted to reduce wheel spin on the power as soon as he feels comfortable, as he makes his way towards the line. He slides, but he still takes pole. It's a 35.2. But his tyres were giving up the ghost there. I thought, unfortunately, he was losing traction all the way towards the line then. So Luke definitely knows he can improve. How much time has he got on the board? I think Diogo Silva has popped his McLaren up into P2 then. Here we are, the chase is on. Qualifying's almost come to an end, and we should have every single driver out there on the track.
Yeah, definitely seems like the track and weather is improving in these final stages of qualifying, so the quickest laps for him will be at the end of the session. Lars Lund is making his way into the final chicane in the Williams, up by 2.5 seconds through the middle sector. Let's see what that will bring him as he is about to cross the line for this lap to be completed. He goes second fastest, misses out by 81 thousandths of a second, and the top 3 is covered within 1/10 of a second. It's incredibly close between the top 3 right now in the session. Napple has seemed to have backed off. He was up by 1.5 seconds through the middle sector, but he has slowed down and will try again in a few moments time. Mattia Manga seems to be weaving around as well, so he's going for another warm-up lap. Seems like everyone else out there is just going to try and get that lap started as late as possible to have the best possible track conditions right now in the session. 1.5 minutes to go. Everyone out there on an out lap, making their way through the first or middle sector. So it's very busy right now there out on track. Napple is just going to start his flying lap right now in the kick shower. Let's see what he is going to be able to do, as he's the first one to start his final flying lap with just over 1 minute remaining in the session. So everyone else behind him will have better track conditions likely. So let's see if that is going to benefit the rest of the drivers compared to Napple. He's making his way. Oh.
I'll continue from it. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but Napple heads out of the loop then on towards the Wellington Straight. He doesn't really take the left-hand side of it, because there used to be a bump on that particular part of the track as we head down in towards Brooklyn. Now 6 tenths of the first sets, and Vessel has got a 5-place grid penalty for illegal blocking. That must be done. And look at this, there's a traffic jam in towards the last set as well. This is what we fear the most. Drivers are waiting for the best part of the conditions as well, to go in as late as they can. Most some drivers make it. Vessel gets another 5-second penalty, or 5-place grid penalty for illegal. That's going to be last place for sure, fortunately for him. So that's a massive traffic jam, and that's his Ferrari teammate right behind too. So we're quite sure what we're going to do about that one. But on board with Napple, because he is on the fly lap, remember. So here he is coming towards Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. On the last lap, I saw what happened to him. He made a mistake. He just went out wide at the exit of this corner here, but hooks it up very nicely. He's currently 1.6 seconds up in this middle sector, but obviously needs to find a lot more time than that if he wants to try a good 10. Look at that. Through the first set, you can see out of turn 4, turn 5, the Ferrari's leading, and the Mercedes is down there as well. Oh, off the track goes Napple, but still it is a valid lap time as he continues down into towards Vale, and then keep it nice and tidy, as some drivers might get caught up, because there's Williams who's backing off, I think, there on Alpine. He's slowed down. That's his qualifying done and dusted for him. Here comes Napple towards the line. He goes up into P5, big hit for him as well from the kick Saber driver, as we watch the melee happening down here as well. well. Look at Luke, improved by 0.3 of a second. He is on an absolute flyer so far in this qualifying session here as well. He did set his first lap as well a few laps ago, or a few minutes ago, but he's still out there on the same intermediate compound tyres. He wasn't involved in that traffic jam as he now makes his way down in towards the final 3 corners. He goes, let's see, keep it nice and tidy. Remember, this is where he lost it on his previous lap time, so there's still plenty more to be found. He keeps it nice and tidy as he makes his way towards the line. It's a 4:34.73, so that is a mega lap time. Is anybody going to be contention with that, I wonder? Keke, I think, is the next one, 2.3 seconds up. Here he is towards the finish line. He goes, it's pole for Keke, his first provisional pole of the season, but plenty more to come from Diogo Silva, and Artem puts his McLaren up into P3. We've got, I think, somebody else replaced him. Diogo Silva's up into P3, his teammate as well, great qualifying from him. Vessel's up into P2 with a 5-place grip penalty. The other Ferrari's there as well, as we see Nick up into P2 in the Red Bull, Devil up into P3, Walt takes pole with a 33.8 as well, and there's still more to come. Lars van der Linde has been pushed down as well, the order, I think he's down into 30th place, and I think qualifying is done and dusted then. It is Wards on pole. Again, what a fantastic lap time there for Wards as well, and he'll be looking to try to turn that into a win. But yeah, great qualifying session. I love these conditions because it really spices things up, it really changes things around, and you have no idea as well. It's one of those sessions we're going to wait very late as well. But Vessel has got a 10-place grid penalty, and I'm going to have a look at the chat to see if it's any been confirmed. But so far it is Walt and Keke up into P2 finally as well. That man has been struggling this season too, and his highest qualifying start, I think 5th or 6th in previous races, but P2 for him for the Finnish driver. Nicky P3 after a dismal race back in Imola, Devils 4th ahead of Vessel, Pepine in 6th ahead of Luke, Diogo Silva in 8th ahead of Alas in P9, Artem P10, Bob Pierre, Polymachi, Lars van der Linde, Mattia Manga, Naport, Lucas and ILT Jaden, who will start, unfortunately for him, in last place after a high at the Imola Grand Prix. I think he finished, I think he finished in 9th place, towards the Grand Prix. But that is it then. That concludes qualifying. That was such a thriller, rollercoaster qualifying that was too. And it is Ward, the Kickstarter, who was on pole. And let's see how this race goes. I'm going to check in the comment section or in the Discord server if there is a lobby restart. So let me just have a look. They are debating it. They are talking about it. And yeah, it is just a shame because the game AI codes cannot acknowledge that the driver's slowing down to prepare for the lap. Unfortunately, it's not like they don't recognize it, if that makes sense. So the coding on this game is terrible, as obviously it's not blocking there, but the game thinks he's blocked because he's slowed down holding up under the car, but everybody else is doing the same. So I really hope they fix that glitch, but obviously it's going to be quite hard to fix because sometimes AI might not recognize if someone does a lap or not. So we are debating it. We are debating it if we're having a lobby restart, and I can't wait to get the British GP kicked under as well because it's sunny out there as well, like it is today. It is very hot in the UK, and it will be for the rest of the week as well. We're having a heat wave in August here, but the British GP this season was completely different, wasn't it, Milan? With weather kicking in and a certain kick Sauber from P19 to P3, that was an incredible race.
Yeah, absolutely was. Nico Hulkenberg, his first podium there in Silverstone, the first time in his career. Great story of that race. Indeed it was. I'm sure everyone liked that. In that race, it looks like we are going to get a restart. I've seen it in the announcement. So not a lobby restart, but we should be getting a restart. I don't know if we're waiting for something like that. But yeah, of course, Wessel with the unlucky grid penalty he got there, and that mess in the final sector, absolute traffic jam it was. So going to get the lights on, but I do wonder if we are going to see cars retiring quite soon. Yeah, we are.
I don't want to make the same mistake as Mexico, where I commentated and it was a lobby restart, because when the lights went out, I made an absolute fool of myself and talked about it as if it was actually happening. Oh, so the Kickstarter was crashed there, where I think Marcus Ericsson crashed into did he have the DRS open, Marcus Ericsson, in 2020? When was it? 2018, yeah, with Kickstarter with Sauber, because both Saubers were tired, Ericsson in the wall, and Charles Leclerc lost his, had a pit stop problem as well, which forced him to retire. As I remember Pascal Wehrlein also spinning there too, back in 2016 when he just aquaplaned off the track. But DRS wasn't able there on the Hamilton Straight in 2018, but obviously for safety reasons they've turned it off. So yeah, that's no longer a feature on this game. But I remember the super hard tyre, the blue tyre that barely anybody used in that Grand Prix as well. That was such a useless tyre because I don't recall anybody except Nico Hulkenberg using that tyre on that occasion too. We had like so many different sets of compound tyres back in 2018. What we had hyper soft, ultra soft, super soft, soft, medium, hard, super medium as well, like all different tyre categories. And I do miss that type of season because we used to have a lot of memes and make fun about it as well. But we're going to have a lobby restart then, like I said, and hopefully as well, I forgot to mention this at the very start of the stream, I really hope that it is not laggy because I do have a newer broadband, and I haven't got an Ethernet cable for it just yet. I am streaming on the internet, but apparently the internet on this is much, much faster and 100 times better. So if there is any lag, I do apologise for that, but so far we still keep going. And I really hope this will be a good race as well. F2, we saw 4 people retire as they made contact in towards turn 3 on the first lap, which caused a VSC. And also PSGL PCF1. Wow, what a race that was as well in the wet conditions. And you know what, Mia? Wow, there's a lot of mixed opinions about that one as well. But in my personal opinion, I think it was a very clever move, very strategical, because there wasn't a rule for that, if I don't think. So if there isn't any rules for that, why not go for it and see what happens? But unfortunately, I think he got penalised for it as well towards in the Grand Prix. That's what loads of people are talking about. It's very, very smart there for you know what, Mia, but unfortunately, according to the rules, it's not allowed. So yeah, it was very smart in my opinion, though.
Yeah, just unfortunately a bit controversial that is, but it is what it is, and we're gonna have to move on from that. But for this race, then I do wonder if they're gonna transfer the weather conditions, because I did see someone say it was gonna rain in the race as well. So I do hope they put on the weather that the previous race just had, so we have some wet weather in this race as well. Always gonna make it interesting, but yeah, it's gonna be a lobby restart then, and hopefully we're gonna get this race underway quite shortly. I think everyone is still in the lobby, so it shouldn't be taking too long to sort out the grid, and then I think we will be good to go right after that.
Indeed. So whilst there is a null and nothing's happening, I'm going to read you out the championship standards as well, because I've got to mention that previously. I think I did before, but not fully. So let me just get the championship standards up for you. So as we all know, Jeroen Visser, 3 wins in a row, 49 points is leading the championship, but he has been promoted to F1, so he will not win a championship in F3 unless something dramatic happens. Luke is currently sitting pretty in P2, DNF back in the first round, 2 podiums as well, and on pole again here in Silverstone. It was Ward, sorry. He's on 32 points in second place. Ward is on third. Ward is third on 27 points. He's 5 points behind Luke as well. And ILT Bob Pierre missed the race back at the Imola Grand Prix. He's sitting 4th. He was fighting with the Arena Championship, but he's been pushed into 4th place. And he's currently 10 points away from Luke in second. Lars van der Linden, after that great podium, up into P5 now in the Championship standards, 19 points. And Mattia Manga, who's consistently got 2 P7s and 2 P6s. So he's been, making a pattern here as well. 2 P7s and 2 P6s. Wow. Maybe 2 P5s at the end of this and the next race at the Hungarian Grand Prix. But he's currently 6th so far with 18 points. And Artem, he's been promoted up into P7 after just one race, and he won at the Imola Grand Prix. He's currently P7 with 17 points. Lucas P8 in the Alpine with 15. Stefano, who was seen race back in the first 2 rounds at Austria when he finished second, and Saudi Arabia when he picked up a puncher, but ever since then he has not showed his face again. And Jaden rounds off the top 10 in Alpine with 12 points. His best result was at Saudi Arabia, so that's what the track I wanted to mention as well, after he finished in a good 4th place. And further behind is Mustache Vessel Nick. I expect a lot from Nick, but he has been struggling as well. He is a very quick driver on his day. He's been in F3 for quite a few seasons now, and he also has picked up podiums along the way. Abu Dhabi, I think, was his last podium last season in F3, so he'll be looking to try and get more podiums on the tally for Nick. Naples in P13, a difficult start to the season, but slowly but surely getting there. 8th and 7th place in Belgium, and also Imola, sorry. And Devils in 50th place. Devils is an interesting one because he has some good pace, but has struggled recently too. Diogo Silva, well, good qualifier today, but can he finally transform it into a decent race? And I really hope he scores a lot of points, because he was so competitive when I commentated on him last season in F2, fighting always up there, but something must have changed, unfortunately, towards the course of the season, whether it's the cars, the game itself, his driving style not working, or something else, or these drivers being too fast. But Diogo Silva is on the back foot here, unfortunately. Alice in P17, Bun in P18, and Williams of Keke as well. Keke's had a torrid season. He's only scored 1 point, and he finished P10 at Saudi Arabia. I was expecting more from Keke. He did get a puncher back at the Imola Grand Prix, if I remember correctly, so he was going to score some points last week as well on Monday, but he had a puncture later on in the Grand Prix, which was a shame because it took him well out of contention as well. Could have been, I think, a top 7 finish at the time because he was in a squabble with other people, and that pretty much concludes it. But Pine, we've seen race once this season. That was back in Austria when he took out Jeroen Visser in towards turn 3. But Pine is back, and let's see what the Dutchman can do for IRT, and hopefully we can get racing once again. I'm looking forward to this race, Milan. What about you, mate?
I certainly am as well, and especially if there is going to be rain in the race, that will certainly make it a very interesting race. But even if it is just in the dry, it's always a good race to watch because Silverstone is a great track for racing on this game as well, even though we do have the dirty air on this game, and we probably will have the DRS trains in the earlier stages in the first stints. But either way, I think it's going to be a good race, and it looks like we are about to get this one going. So I'm excited to see who is going to come out on top after tonight's race in around 45 minutes time.
Well, mate, before we get going, have you got any predictions, mate? What would you put your top dollar on who?
Well, Warts, he was so quick in qualifying, but that was in the wet. So in the dry, I'm not really sure if he's going to be able to convert that pace. But he has been quite quick this season, and if it does rain later in the race, I think he is going to have a very good shot of potentially winning his first race of the season. So I'd say he's my favorite right now going into the race.
I have no idea. It could be anybody. It really could be anybody. Hopefully Luke as well. Both Hasses need a change of misfortune because they've lost so many points as well. Not due to extenuated circumstances. They've not always had the best internet as well, especially Polymachi when he kept lagging out. It's just a shame because he's practiced so hard. He's up there contending with the guys at the top of the field. Then all of a sudden his internet goes. It's just one of the most frustrating things ever as well as a driver on esports as well. But hopefully his internet sorted out and he could stay in the session because he has been kicked out in the last few times as well. So we are going to get racing around here in Silverstone, 26 laps on the track, and we'll see what happens as well towards the end of the race, as it's nice and sunny like it was in the previous session as well, so no driver has to think about the rain, or the drivers did in F1 this season. Hi Jamie, how are you? I guess Wards will win. I'm good, thank you, F1 Shorts. Nice to have you in the chat, and we'll see if Wards does win or not. Can Kick Sauber get their first win of the season? Can the Haas drivers as well get their first win of the season? Somebody, can Artem continue McLaren's streak with 5 wins in a row? Might be a bit difficult starting where he is right now, but if somehow he could try and win this race, continues McLaren's streaks of 5 wins in a row, that'd be incredible. They are currently leading the championship as well, the constructors. McLaren lead ahead of Sauber by about 35 points. McLaren of 69, Sauber 34. Haas are behind with Polymachi and Luke with 32 points behind him as well. Red Bull with 4th with 30 points, Alpine with 5th, 27, Aston Martin, Williams, Mercedes, Ferrari, and the V-Carb as well, ran off the top 10. As let's see then how it all shapes and unfolds in this Grand Prix. Safety cars can be brought out as well. I don't really see many safety cars nowadays in Silverstone because there's plenty of runoff area as well. So I don't think safety cars might be a factor unless something dramatic happens, like a big crash with somebody in the wall. But we'll see how this race transpires. I think it could be a simple one-stop, mediums to hards, hards to mediums. I don't think you want to be doing a 2-stop around here because the pit lane loss is just too significant, too costly as well. So a 2-stop is not the way to go around here as well. And that slow speed limit, I think it's about 60 kph or 37 miles an hour in those units. So it's a very slow pit lane indeed. And both ends of the pit lane, unfortunately, have been crashed into. Oliver Behrman back this season in F1, he crashed at the beginning of the pit lane, and Romain Grosjean back in 2018 when he crashed at the end of the pit lane. So it looks like at the front and the end, I'll be getting a bit of Haas actions in the past few years. But we'll see then. It's very easy as well to notice that it's penalties as well in the pit lane. Speed of penalties could be a factor because you arrive there at such high speed, then you're slamming the brakes and slow the car all the way down. A lot of drivers in the past have been caught out with a 10-second penalty as well, and that is so detrimental for your race. It's just a race killer because it used to be a 5-second penalty, now it's a 10-second penalty. So you really can't afford to speed in the pit lane if you can help it. But we'll see.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it before in leagues as well, that it's quite easy to get a penalty. But here we go then. Time to get this race going.
4, 5 lights on the Grand Prix. All eyes to the lights. And we are underway for the British GP. Yellow flag immediately, but nobody stored as the kick Sauber gets a good launch off the line. But the Williams has taken the lead in towards turn 1, like Massa, like Bottas did in 2015. The side-by-side in towards turn 3. That's Ward and Nick going wheel to wheel in towards turn 3. I think Keke maintains the lead, but here comes the Red Bull around the outside. Now has the inside line going in towards turn 4, turn 5. The Red Bull or the Aston Martin is still... Oh, both Ferraris make contact. And they both there managed to keep on the track. Oh, off the track goes the Aston Martin and McLaren. Oh, more contact as well. In the background, an RP's gone off, but these two wheel banging with each other as well as we head down towards Brooklands. These drivers getting feisty. Nick just stays up into P3 as well. Already the first lap of the Grand Prix. The drivers are getting their elbows out as well. As in the background, Diogo Silva is up into P6. Haas is there scrapping away as well with the McLaren behind him. It is Diogo Silva who stays in P6. But will Luke dare go back down the inside in towards Cops? Is he brave? He backs out of it, so be smart about it as we now head towards our header. But a few people off the track as well. Massive understeer for the Haas and the Ferrari of Papine as well. As here comes the Williams blasted through and hit the side-by-side R2 versus Lawrence van der Linden in a place where Danny Kvyat and Carlos Sainz crashed in 2015 or 17, sorry, but he gets... That's Alas who puts his Mercedes up into P8, so major battles going on here as well in this Grand Prix, but Lars is still hanging around the outside there. In towards Stowe we go, and let's see if he dives back down the inside. In towards Vale we go, but it looks like Mercedes now is covered, and in the background goes Vettel in the pit lane, so it must have been him and his teammate who made contact. Papine and Vettel getting the skirmish already. He's lost his wing and he's in the pit lane too for good measure. We round off lap 1, DRS is enabled, and Keke for Williams takes the lead of the Grand Prix.
Yeah, great start in the barrier there by Keke. It was a really chaotic start there. A few drivers picking up front wing damage. One of them was Vettel, who is into the pit lane. Boompje as well has got front wing damage, missing one of his end plates as he's right behind the McLaren of Artem and Lars van der Linden in the Williams, with the other Williams leading at the moment, as that is Diogo Silva defending aggressively against Luke, trying to send one up the inside as we go into Lovefield, and the Haas gets the job done. Great move there by Luke. He's up to P6 as he has cleared the McLaren driver as we get out of this corner. But Luke in the lead of the race, he's got 4 tenths towards Ward, then Nick, Devils, Papine, Luke, the Diogo Silva, Ales, Lars van der Linden and Artem, as the entire top 12 still within DRS range. Looks like both Alpines had some problems on the opening lap, and Mattia Manga as well, and Napple, who's got that 10-second time penalty, so must have had some incident at the back of the field on the opening lap of this race, and Vettel down in P17, and he didn't even change his front wing. It's from bad to worse as he changed tires, but his team forgot to change his front wing as well, so dramatic race for him so far on the second lap. But Keke in the lead of this race. Great start from him, took the lead going into turn 1, and currently has the kick Sauber in his rear view mirror as we go on to lap 3, with the Williams out in front, followed by Sauber and a Red Bull. Nick close behind as well. I guess it's the fastest lap of the race on the mediums. A lot of drivers are on the mediums right now. In fact, the entire grid is on the mediums right now, and Lucas sets the fastest lap of the race. Now Jaden, both Alpines chasing that the DRS frame right now. 1.3 seconds is the gap between Polomacci in P12 and Lucas in P13, so let's see if they're going to be able to close that gap to under 1 second and get themselves back into this race.
I have seen the Alpine on lap 1, not quite sure who it was, if it was Jaden or Lucas, went off the track at this particular part of the session in towards the loop, turn 5. They went off the track, and not quite sure if he's avoided somebody or just lost it by himself, but that's probably why they're down at P13 14 as well. So lucky to Jaden and Lucas there with their first lap issues, but still Keke leads this Grand Prix ahead of Wards, ahead of Nick as well. So all setting down is this one big DRS train as well, as it usually is. Drivers trying to find a way past as well. There's plenty of opportunity to overtake as well around the circuit. Anywhere you go, there's opportunity to overtake as well. But the dirty air as well affecting you. The guys ahead with the DRS as well, kind of same speed as you, and it's all about trying to get through the field as much as you can as well without being stuck there. But as we now make our way towards Magnus and Beckett, we're seeing Bompio with damage, like you said, so I'm not quite sure we sustained that. Remember as the Austrian Grand Prix when he sustained damage, and now he's got a Haas right behind him, Polomacci. He got pushed off the track last time, but would he dare try and have another go in towards Stowe we go? No, he stays behind Bompio for the time being. You can see Bompio is really struggling in the mid-speed, high-speed corners as he looks for an opening on the outside, but the door is shut firmly in his face there, so no opportunity to go down the inside or outside there. But I think Polomacci knows that Bompio's got damage and therefore get past him immediately, so try and focus on the guys right ahead of him. He's right behind him as well as we head towards 1 and 2. He's going to be brave and optimistic down inside in towards turn 3 if he's close enough. Don't want to risk it, of course, and lose the DRS. Well, yes, he is down the inside in towards turn 3. Oh, locks up, but still keeps it under control as we now head towards turn 4, turn 5, side by side. Polomacci is desperate to get past, but Bompio loses traction, and Polimachi is around the outside in towards 4 and 5 with the DRS open. He has finally got his rival. He's up into P11. That's crucial move. And here comes Lucas as well. He puts himself up into P12 ahead of Bob Pierre, who's fallen backwards with that broken wing as well. So Bob Pierre came back from vacation after having a week off, but here in Silverstone is not having a great time whatsoever. The man in P4 championship, the man who was challenging Jeroen all the way through at the Belgian Grand Prix, but here in Silverstone it's completely changed. A massive contrast for his race, and he's stuck down there in P13 with a broken wing. So I think he'll change that when his first pit stop will come, because I don't think he would lose too much time and do a two-stroke strategy. So he's going to follow the train if he can, stay within the DRS trade and put on the hardcore power tyres much later in the Grand Prix and change the wing too. However, Devils has lost the DRS towards the top 3, so Nick is checking out. Nick, Wards and Keke are checking out here in first, second and third place. So they've got their little race going on for the lead of the Grand Prix, whilst Devils have dropped backwards now in the clutches of Pepijn right behind him as well. So he effectively becomes the second leader of that DRS train, allowing the top 3 to pull away. And waiting for the DRS, it's just so difficult to get yourself back in there. Multiple DRS zones as well. You have no straight line speed advantage. You've got the guys right behind you. You're trying to drain the battery, try and catch up towards the guys ahead. But unfortunately, they're just pulling ahead with the DRS advantage themselves, and therefore can't get close. It's already 2 seconds back as well. And the Ferrari thinking about a move down the inside there, but just a bit too far back as we now head towards 4 and 5. Surely the Ferrari has a good chance. I think Pepijn wants to dispatch Devils as quick as he can, so we should try and catch Nick if he can. Here we are with the DRS wide open. Let's see if Pepijn will go for the move in towards Brooklyn. He's got the DRS, he's got the straight line speed. Here he is, the Cho's go on the outside as we go wheel to wheel, but the Aston Martin a bit late to the brakes there, a bit of contact as well, but Devils late to the brakes. He stays up into P4 for the time being, so Pepijn couldn't get that move done, but he's right to the back. Oh, look at that. Devils has a massive slide out of Luffield, and now Pepijn senses opportunity. Maybe his best chance next is try and get him in towards Stowe, but he's lost so much time. These two going side by side, lost another second as well in comparison towards the top 3. So the top 3 are pulled away, and Devils has been left behind and fighting with the guys behind us. Well, look at this side by side. That's Lars versus Mercedes. No way. Lars up into 8th place there. Just went side by side in towards Maggots and Beckett, and he's just done it. Completed the move as well. I'm not quite sure. Alice behind just lost the car and cops, and therefore Lars got a great run. However, it's been pushed backwards. Here comes Pepijn around the outside in towards Stowe. Wheel banging once again, but finally a lap too late. Pepijn's up to P4, but Devils is still there. Tried to put pressure on him, not letting him go just yet, but he's been relinquished now, and Pepijn's up into P4 ahead of Devils as we round off lap 6. Oh, look at this, Devils coming. Oh, it's a bit of lag, sorry, it's lag.
It almost looked like he was going to go back up the inside, but the lag in fourth. But it looks like Devils, he actually has front wing damage. He's missing an end plate on the left side of his front wing, so that is why he might be slower than the top 3. As he says, one on the inside once again into turn 3, not wanting to give this fight up for P4 right now. Now he will have the DRS again, and he has the DRS advantage, and he's going to send one up the inside where he is by not really able to defend, although he just teleports ahead of him once again. It's really confusing right now what the position of these cars on track is right now.
Sorry to interrupt, McLaren and Williams make contact. There's a massive tussle going on in the midfield. Big contact. I only just caught it from the helicopter cam, so I'm not quite sure what happened. There were 3 abreast almost in towards Brooklyn. I think Arthur tried to go down the inside of Lars, made contact with him and let him go again, and they've lost the DRS towards the guys ahead. But it should be easy to get back in the DRS considering the Aston Martin has front wing damage, a lack of downforce, and Alice is up into P9 as well. So I need to go check what happened there, because I was on board with the helicopter cam a far angle away, and I was paying attention towards Devils and Pepijn as well. So my apologies for missing that one, but it looks like every single driver remains unscathed, and I don't see any further damage from anybody. No wings flying off there, so luckily every single driver keeps going, and they're back at the DRS range already, because Devils is just losing so much performance in the high speed corners there with the lack of downforce he has in the car. His teammate, however, got past Polimachi has dropped backwards too, so I'm not quite sure what's happened to him, because he was going forwards, but it just seems that his race is going from bad to worse. Has he got damage? I'm not quite sure from his camera angle. He has. Yep.
Yeah.
He has got damage. Oh, what a shame there for Polimachi. Maybe got caught up in that instant in towards Brooklands and slammed into the back of somebody. So that's a shame there for him. And you have to live with that for mid damage. But so far, the top 3 looking very comfortable. They control the lead of the Grand Prix and will determine who will win towards the end of it.
Indeed, and so another unlucky race it seems for the Haasman, at least for Polimachi. His teammate Luke is still up there in P6 chasing Devils, who still managed to stay within DRS range of Papine despite his front wing damage, so he's doing a good job right now, staying close to Papine and still having the chances of getting a good result tonight. But that front wing damage is going to cost him, especially through the high speed corners, which are going to come up right now with the Cops corner and then Maggots and Beckett's. So it's going to be crucial for him to stay within DRS range compared to Papine, as he's just ahead going into Cops corner. Luke close behind 0.6 of a second at the moment, not really able to go for the overtake just yet. So Devils maintaining his position right now. The gap is 0.9 of a second and now over 1 second, but he still has the DRS because the detection point is just before Maggots and Beckett's there. So he still has the DRS and he's going to close that gap back down to around 6-7 of a second towards the Ferrari, but he is struggling right now to stay with Pine for now. The top 3 at the moment, they have run away. The gap is 4 seconds almost between Nick and Papine as Aless and Lucas go wheel to wheel, because Lucas is pulling into the pit lane at the end of lap 8. He's not the only one, because Boompje into the pit lane as well in the Red Bull, and I wonder if he is going to change his front wing. If he does, he will lose a lot of time and will be out of that DRS range, so let's pay attention if he is going to replace that front wing. No, he is not, so he's going to risk it and just go back out with that front wing damage and have track position, rather than having the better grip with the new front wing. So Lucas and Boompje both very early into the pit lane onto a brand new set of hards, which is going to have to be 18 laps if they are going to make it to the end of the race. So it's going to be a long stint for them, but at the front it remains unchanged so far since the beginning of this race. Keke has been in the lead and Wards still following the Williams on lap 8.
Yeah, I think Ward has been patient, not attacking aggressively, as Nick there cuts the corner towards Cops, and he almost goes out wide as well at the exit of it, so you can be very careful the way he approached that. Maybe the dirty edge just affects it too, but the guys who's just pitted, that's a long way to go on the hardcore power tyres. It is doable, of course, so they're looking to do the undercut, and let's see if it works out for them, but they're going to pay the price towards in the Grand Prix once these guys put on a new set of the hardcore power tyres and chase them down if they get undercuts or not. But I don't think the top 3 have anything to worry about so far, just within their own race. Maybe these guys will just respond to each other and see what they're doing, but we know the undercut is quite powerful, and into the pit lane comes Wards, and that's a very late move from Nick. Nick is in the pit lane too. Does he slow the car down? He just does, and that's about 60 kilometers an hour, 37 miles an hour as they trundle down this long pit lane. So Keke's out there once again. He takes the lead of the Grand Prix, and let's see if anybody could do the undercut as well. I think I'm watching Lucas because he was one of the first ones to pit. I think he's just way too far behind in comparison towards the guys in the lead of the Grand Prix, so I don't think he'll get the undercut of them. So Nick rejoins in P10 on the hardcore power tyres. There comes Wards as well, also the hardcore power tyres. They're going to take them towards the end, and it should be a good battle to watch between those two, as we see then the guys trundled on the pit lane. It's just so long, this pit lane as well. You just wish it ended. But here we go, out of the pit lane we go. It is Wards ahead of Nick on the hardcore power tyres, and we'll see what happens in the second phase of the Grand Prix as things start to change now and things will get more interesting. Will Keke be undercut? So that's the question. He's out there as well on the mid-core power tyres, stayed out there. And I was looking at the Red Bull. Oh my goodness me, it's double blunder for Red Bull. What is going on, Milan? Both of them have got damage. I'm not quite sure where Nick picked it up from. That explains the understeer towards Cops. Both Red Bulls have a damage. I'm not quite sure when and where.
Absolute disaster class then for the Red Bulls, who will be struggling in the stint. And Nick, his advantage, he is where did he pick up that front wing damage? Because he wasn't running into the back of Wards, maybe going into the pit lane, because that is really strange. Or maybe on the pit exit hitting the wall, but that is really unfortunate for the Red Bull team, as Wards is quite easily able to break away from Nick. The gap's almost 1 second right now as Keke is into the pit lane, our race leader, 1 lap after, and let's see where he will be coming out as Devils picks up a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane and immediately retires.
Wait, there's a crash. There's a crashing Cops in there. There's 2 people off the track of Cops.
Polimachi and Napple both went off going into Cops corner, and Polimachi is facing backwards as he rejoins. What has happened between the Sauber and the Haas? Really unlucky as Polimachi's race just gets from bad to worse. He's barely got any front wing left, so once again an unlucky moment there for Polimachi as Keke. Where is he going to come out compared to Wards? Wards still behind the Williams, so the undercut has not really worked there for Wards. In fact, he is almost a second behind Keke, so a really good in-lap then it must have been for Keke, as the gap is around 1 second towards Wards. So these guys remain unchanged, the positions wise. So Keke still our virtual race leader ahead of Wards and Nick, but Nick now crucially has dropped out of the arrest range to Wards because of that front wing damage.
Yeah. So what a shame there for Nick. But I wonder if a podium is still on the cards for Nick as well, because the top two are yet to pit in this race. Maybe if Papine could catch up, because now Nick's out the DRS range. He doesn't have that extra straight line speed advantage. Where Papine, somebody's what's out of the pit. That's Napol, who is out of the Grand Prix. So quite a bizarre crash heading down towards Cops and saw Haas facing the wrong way. Remember back in 2018 when Romain Grosjean and Carl Sainz made contact as well in towards Cops, and it ruined both their races, caused the safety car too on that day. And Sebastian Vettel won the Ferrari after Hamilton was spun around out of turn 3 by Raikkonen on that day too. But we've seen plenty of crashes in towards Cops, obviously the main one being Hamilton and Verstappen during that fantastic epic battle in 2021. I'm not going to get into politics on whose fault it was. I'm just going to say it was just an amazing season and I've thoroughly enjoyed it as well. Jaden and Artem are in the pit lane and they're going to put on the hardcore power tyres, and let's see if it pays dividends for them later on the Grand Prix. Nick is dropped backwards. I don't think Papine's gained any time, only slightly though, by a 10th here, a 10th there, and that's it, or 10th backwards as well. So he's fluctuating like a fruit machine, just going up and down the gap is, and he's not really gaining on Nick at a rate of knots as well. So expect him with a new set of tyres and a full intact wing to have that advantage. But this seems like an easy fight between these two, Wards and Keke. They're both go for their first win of the season. The question is, who's going to get it as well, as Wards has already got a podium season, but Keke has been struggling a lot during the course of season 14. Not quite sure where his pace has been so far, but today he is certainly showing some good pace, especially with evidence on the in-lap on the All-Mini Compound tyres. Wards and Nick were not able to get the undercut on Keke so far, and it looks very good as well. 1 lap difference in tyres, and Keke could be in a real good shout to win the Grand Prix. But it's over, yes. The 15 laps left to go in this race. Wards played this out tactically. He's been behind Keke, just biding his time. He knows he does have to overtake. I know it's a boring race, but at the same time, you've got to take strategically as well. Not to overtake at the right time, not to lose any time, and build yourself up a gap ready for the race later on in the Grand Prix. So you're only got to focus on the guy ahead of you and not what's behind as well, because the first stint's about managing, pulling away from the rest of the field, not attacking as well, or dive bombing. But in this phase then, I think Wards will still follow Keke all the way through until about lap 24, 25 as well. So Keke has got a Sauber in his wing mirrors. I don't think he has the pure pace to break him out of DRS range. So it's down to these two then, the Williams versus the Kick Sauber for the lead of the Grand Prix, Wards and Keke. Keke go for his first win of the season. Wards trying to go for his first win of the season too. Let's see which one of those two got it. But Wards has definitely shown some brilliant mighty pace. Sauber currently P2 in the championship. This will pay dividends for them because McLaren so far P8 and P12. So not been a good day for McLaren here, because they had 4 wins in a row on the bounce, but here today it's going to be very unlikely with Artem and Diogo Silva. I know what happened, by the way, on lap 6 between Lars, I think it was Lars, Artem, and who else was it? Alès. So Lars was in front of both of them. Alès and Artem went side by side in towards Brooklands, but I think Artem just broke a bit too late and tapped the back of Lars van der Linde. So Lars van der Linde was not involved in that battle. He was an innocent victim and unfortunately got caught up in that. But he's still in the race, still in P6, and once again another great drive there from the Dutchman. And Diogo Silva too. He's doing a really good job so far. We have said he struggled this season, but so far here in this race, 8th place, not too bad. He's in that fight. There's a big train for P4 all the way down to P10 with Bob Piat at the rear end of it, with a broken front wing as well, because Nick's clear of Papine. Papine is not gaining at all on Nick, so Nick's blistering pace is doing well enough to keep that Ferrari out of his wing mirrors and remain in P3. That's all Nick can hope for as well. Papine is not making any inroads despite the Red Bull having a broken front wing.
Seems like it's going to be a 2-horse race then for the victory out there in Silverstone, Keke and Ward. So I must say Nick's pace is actually quite good. He's not losing too much time to those, but of course every single lap he will lose a couple of tenths because of the DRS. So but he could bring home a P3. Would be very impressive if he managed to do that with front wing damage. The gap is still 4 seconds towards Papine in the Ferrari. He's got that massive train behind him all the way down to Boompje in P10. Another Red Bull with front wing damage as well, still holding on to a top 10 result for now in this race. But Luke has been unable to get past Papine. He's been looking to try and get past over the last few laps, but hasn't quite got close enough to get ahead of the Ferrari and potentially chase after Nick in P3. Because Papine, like you said, he's not really able to close that gap for some reason, despite having a full front wing. It's really impressive what Nick is showing right now at this stage of the race. We're around halfway point of this race, 13 laps to go after this one. So is Nick going to be able to maintain that P3 spot, or will Papine be able to close that gap, or will someone else behind able to get past Papine and then potentially close the gap back down towards Nick? and put him under pressure for P3 in this race. Warts and Kek is still ever so close together, 0.5 of a second. Kek is still in the lead of the race, and Warts, he's been getting closer every single lap, but just not close enough to go for the move. So he might be waiting till the last few laps of this race, potentially even the last one, to try and go for the overtake. But Keke will know that, and he will be positioning his car as good as possible and prepare himself for a potential final lap attack. But that's still a long way to go. We still got 12 more laps to go before that one, and have to drive all those 12 laps cleanly, as Nick has lost a few more tenths of a second, and Pepijn is closing in that gap now. It was around 4.2 seconds going on to the previous lap, and now it's around 3.94 seconds, so he is gaining ever so slightly, but I don't think it's quick enough to be able to put any pressure on that P3 position of Nick right now. And so is Luke in P5 right now, and Larson in P6. Lucas, Diogo Silva, Ales, and Boompje and Jaden once again trying to close the backing gap towards the restaurant, just like he had on the opening lap of the race when he lost out massively at the start and then had to close the gap back down. I think he is closing the gap a little bit as Wessel into the pit lane, and unfortunately he's retired from the session, so that becomes our third retirement of this race. Podium actually still running in P15 to be fair to him. He's a long way behind, so he must be hoping for some sort of safety car or a VSC or something like that to bring him back into contention, because at the moment he's down there in P14, and looking like it will be a pointless race for him. Once again, very unlucky, like he has been multiple times this season, or affected with bad luck, and he has shown great pace, but unfortunately hasn't got the results he deserved. But we're on to lap 15 in a moment's time. Keke and Warts close together, and this fight is brewing up between them.
Podium actually has got the trials and tribulations of being a really good racing driver, but like you said, in the past few races, he scored no points this season, which is quite surprising because in the races you see him always up there in the top 6, but his internet lets him down. He gets caught up in some random incidents too. It's the same with both Haas's really, but Luke has been scoring most of the points this season for Haas, but so we definitely know Podium actually, if his internet's sorted on his day, will definitely get back up there, no sweat about it, and hopefully it comes sooner rather than later, because he needs it as well, because the mental strength as well on the driver, where he just suffer with so much bad luck, he just cannot be bothered to continue anymore as well. You've got to keep telling yourself to keep going and keep going, something will happen, and keep that mental strength within you as well. As Lucas there seems to be putting Lars under pressure. I think Luke in P5 is playing this very smart as well, because he could attack Pepijn at any time, but at the same time he doesn't want to as well, because he wants to make sure he keeps the rest of the guys at base as well, try and gain as many points as they can. Pepijn is slowly but surely catching Nick. I'm not quite sure though, not on rate of knots either. Gap keeps fluctuating up and down all the time as well, so no real indication to see if Pepijn's catching him or not. But Luke, however, I don't know if he knows that Nick's got forward damage. If he did, he'd probably overtake him and pass him by now and get up towards him if he could, but stuck in this dirty air, he's not able to do so, and Pepijn's just able to keep going, and still there being P4. He's getting loads amount of time. You can definitely see the weaknesses as well, especially in Maggots, Beckett and Chapel. It's just in Stowe right now, as you can see in the foreground. Pepijn's definitely showing some really good pace as well. Could have podiumed the cars. The man who caused the safety car, the first safety car of the season back at the Austrian Grand Prix. I'm not quite sure what happened when he picked up a punch or damage as well, but he made contact with Jeroen in towards turn 3 with the race leader, but Jeroen still went on to win the Grand Prix as well after Pepijn suffered with a puncher. But the gap's gone down to 3.2 as well. I wonder if Nick might be struggling a bit too, because tyre wear could play a massive factor. Broken wing plus a bit of tyre wear is never good, is it? You just whitewashed with understeer as well. It's just horrible understeer, but it looks like Nick is managing it so well. So far so well is the Dutchman, keeping it nice and controlled. He probably knows himself the gap is going down, just want to be wary of it too and try and keep that gap over second DRS. But it's been bad luck for Red Bull this season so far. Boompje and Nick, just don't know why, but they're just prone to full mid damage, it seems. They just can't seem to get away with it, especially back in Austria too, where Boompje sustained some full mid damage. But Boompje's best race of the season so far was at the Belgian Grand Prix, when he was tackling and challenging with Jeroen, and it was a fantastic race between those two as well. Jeroen outclassed him and outplayed him and managed to take the win on the last lap despite being hunted down by Boompje with the DRS. 10 laps left to go. It is still Walt and Keke leading this Grand Prix. Those two have not swapped since the start of the race, literally. Keke took the lead towards turn 1. Ward fell backwards, and he's been sitting pretty and happy to be there in P2. He's not fazed by it at all. He knows that this is a big chance of winning now. With the rest of the guys being detached and so far away, it's only one person in the way, one obstacle, which is Keke. But we know Keke teammates with Lars van der Linde, of course. Seen him in different league races. He's very quick and competitive on his day 2. Jaden does get past Bompier. He's up into P10, so he's caught him. Whilst Bompier there, unfortunately, still struggling with that broken front wing. But yes, it's going to be super interesting to see which one of these two can get their first win of the season. Keke Awards, but hopefully it'll be a good battle between those two. I think Keke knows as well that Wards is planning essentially a last lap attack. So he knows that saving the EOS right now will be beneficial for him as well. So you can use it in defense mode later in the Grand Prix and try and counter his attack as well, because that's what we usually see usually on the last lap attacks, where some people leave it to the very last second, but sometimes it doesn't always work. Proved to be in Belgium and other races too, where sometimes on the last lap is not the best place to do it, because the guy ahead of you has saved up a substantial amount of EOS as well. He's able to use it in defense mode and keep ahead of you as well. So I think Ward's there will have to try and catch Keke off guard if he can, or catch him at a place you don't expect, but we'll see when it happens.
Indeed, and in the fight behind there for P4 right now, it looks like Luke is closing the gap. He's experimenting with different lines, trying to close the gap towards Pepijn. But on the other hand, Lars van der Linde was very close to the back of Luke coming out of Luffield. There is, in fact, he touched the back end of Luke as they went out of the exit and lost Lars a little bit of time. So they're both pushing to try and find a way past Pepijn in any hope of catching Nick for the final spot on the podium. It looks like Pepijn is able to break free a little bit more in the middle sector, and then has enough of an advantage for Luke to not be able to close the gap fully enough to go for the move. The gap is still around 0.4 of a second. Lars closing the gap, and Luke is now in the Alpine, Diogo Silva in P9, unless, and now Jaden in the top 10. These cars, they have been in the same position as well since the second stint, as it's just so difficult to overtake in a DRS train like that with the dirty air as well. Just not able to get any closer, any close enough to go for any moves, as Luke once again close to the back end of Pepijn. But 0.5 of a second really isn't good enough, because Pepijn, he's got a full battery right now, so he can defend with a full battery, able to hold off the cars behind. And he's also still closing the gap towards Nick. It is now under 3 seconds, so he is closing the gap slowly but surely, but it might just be a fight that will start towards the end of the race in the final few laps, when the gap will be under a second. So it might be a great fight towards the end of the race, but we will see in around 8 laps time when we get onto that final lap of the race. Keke and Ward still out there at the front, 0.6 of a second separating them. Ward's comfortable in that second position, and the question is, when will he start to push and try and go for the move on the Williams driver, who seems to have the pace advantage because he is more comfortable on the battery. Ward definitely has to use a little bit more ERS to stay close with the Williams. Of course, dirty air will play a factor in that as well. But they are both still close to each other, like they have been since lap 1 of this race, going on to lap 19. And these two have been in first and second for the entirety of this race, apart from the pit window when they went earlier than some of the other drivers. But the gap is now 7 seconds towards Nick, and Pepijn now 2.3 seconds, so not a half a second gained on that final second half of the previous lap. So it definitely shows that Nick is starting to struggle with the tire wear, because with the understeer he will lose out on the tires as well. So it's going to be difficult for him to be able to hold on to that final spot on the podium, but it would be very impressive if he's going to be able to do that. But 7 laps still remaining, and with the gap closing so quickly, it is going to be very tricky indeed for Nick.
Nervous times here for the Red Bull driver. He can see the gap is just going down constantly as well as he just endures the understeer in towards the corners. The gap is 0.4 of a second between Pepijn and Luke. Those two are still fighting. Let's say if Pepijn does get in the DRS range of Nick in the last couple of laps, that could have really hurt and spoiled Luke's chances, because the guy ahead, Pepijn, will have the DRS on Nick and therefore can't get past himself. So I wonder what's going to happen there between those two. But Pepijn is slowly but surely catching this ball. He's done a great job to defend and keep the guys at bay. Really good job has Pepijn so far as well. We've only seen him once this season. That was back at the Austrian Grand Prix. Didn't really show the best version of himself because of what happened to him and Jeroen Visser. But at the same time, though, today, redemption, and he's really shown what he's capable of as well. 2 seconds away, 1.9. So the gap is going down bit by bit. Not huge amounts being taken out, but Nick will be constantly worrying about the Ferrari looming larger in his mirrors there, as Nick has a bit of a moment out of the final couple of corners. It is still Keke and Worsley in this Grand Prix. Those two have been the top two have been the same for the whole entire race as well. It's just been a massive high-speed game of chess, really, as well, just waiting to be moved at the right moments in this race. The gap is now 1.8 seconds then between Nick and Pepijn. And what about Luke as well? Now you can see that the Red Bull's getting larger in front of him. Maybe trying to attack Pepijn could be the best option for him now as well, because it could be too late. If Luke stays behind Pepijn too long and Pepijn catches him, he's really stuck in P5 as well. The chance of a podium is there right in front of him in P3. Is he close enough? He was 1/10 behind, but not close enough to make a move in towards Brooklands just yet. But like I said, I think he needs to do it right now. He needs to overtake Pepijn right now while he's got the chance before it's too late, and therefore try and find Nick for the podium, because Nick will be sitting dog, I think, in the corners especially, with lots of straight line speed on the straights as well. So let's see if he can try and defend from this. Both Red Bulls, of course, just suffered with damage and bad luck this season, other than at the Belgian Grand Prix. 6 laps to go in this race. The fight potentially for the podium is on. The fight between the first and second is well and truly on as well, so don't go anywhere just yet. We've still got a lot more action to come in the last 6 laps of this Grand Prix between Wars and Keke. It is just playing a long strategic game as well. Wars just been happy to sit in P2 and wait for the final opportunity, and Luke did not get past either. The gap is 1.4 seconds between himself and Nick as well, so he's gaining now and gaining. There is 5 laps left to go, and Pepijn could be within DRS range and could be having a chance of his first podium of the season. Nick hasn't had a podium in F3 since the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix last season too, so it's been a long time since Nick has been on the podium. But it's a big chance for him today, but we don't know when or where he suffered with this front wing damage. But ever since he did, he's been showing some really good pace. Kept up with the top 2, but ever since the second round of pit stops, he just lost the DRS towards them, and those two have just been pulling away and focused on the race themselves. The gap is 1.5 as well. How late is Luke going to leave it? I feel sorry for like Lars, Lucas, Diogo Silva and Alice, because they're in the train as well. They're following in this train, and there is just no way they can overtake as well. They're just hoping the guy ahead just makes a mistake or something like that, or puts a foot wrong. But they're just following that DRS train. It must be so frustrating there as drivers not being able to make a move and seeing the same people around you throughout the whole of the entire Grand Prix. But that's the F1 game for you. DRS trains around here is very common as well, especially in the last few games as well, where it does need to be sorted out, but it's kind of a hard fix really. DRS trains have always been a thing ever since the DRS has been activated.
5 laps to go in this race, and Keke and Ward still separated by half a second, and Pepijn, he is closing that gap. It's been coming down rapidly over the past few laps. It is 1.1, 1.0, and he will potentially have the DRS going on to the next lap. So this fight will start now for the final spot on the podium. It's been a huge train behind Pepijn for P4 for very long in this race, but the train is going to extend to Nick here in P3, but he does have the straight line speed advantage. I've noticed that over the past few laps as well, that he is way faster than the likes of Pepijn on a straight line, so it's going to have to come into the corners for the cars behind to try and challenge the Red Bull driver, who is quite low on ERS as well. But Pepijn, he has got the DRS for the first time in this race. He's in the fight now for the final spot on the podium. Both RRT drivers will be fighting it out for that P3 position, and Luke still following closely behind, but in this second stint he's just been unable to get past Pepijn, so it's going to be up to Pepijn to get past Nick, and then maybe the Haas will be able to get past as well, and maybe Lars van der Linden in P7 as Boompje gets up a 3-second time penalty. He's been really struggling in this race, just like his teammate, who is still up there in P3 with Boompje down in P11 with that front wing damage as well. And now picking up a 3-second time penalty for good measure, so it looks like he will be finishing in P12 potentially, behind Artem, who's down in P12. I'm not entirely sure what happened to the McLaren driver. I know he had front wing damage as well, and he replaced his front wing, and that's what put him behind the rest of the field so much. As Pepijn is going to get past Nike up the inside into Stowe, and he's got the job done. He's up to P3 on the first time of asking. Pepijn, he has got that position, and Nick is already down to P4. That's a great move there by the Ferrari driver as we go on to lap 23. Pepijn now up to P3, but will he be able to hold on to that position in these final few laps?
Great drive so far. There's the Haas on the pit lane there on a brand new set of soft compound tyres. Each of the flags for the Haas there, who was just slowing down and trying and get the fast up at the Grand Prix as well. When we get points for being on pole, for winning the race obviously, or for being the top 12, and also having to slap the race as well. But here comes Nick now. Will he bounce back immediately? Will he fight back as we head on towards the Wellington Straight? Not yet. He doesn't. He stays behind for the time being, though. He's still got some pace to keep up with Papaya. So Papaya hasn't really checked out there. Nick is able to stay within his DRS range and fight later on in the Grand Prix. But of course, he's lacking downforce on the front of the car there, just unable to turn in as much as he wanted to as well. But he's definitely got the straight line speed with the lack of front wing as well to his car. And Luke as well is sitting in P5 as he goes off the track. Nick as well, too much understeer, dirtier kicking in, no front end whatsoever, and that's his second excursion as well on that particular part of the track. So be very careful not to pick up a 3-second time penalty. But look at this, the advantage that Papine has in the middle sector. He's just able to streak away and have rocket launcher for the exit, while Nick is just struggling there, not able to get on the power, and now he's got to focus on keeping Luke behind him as well. So this could be lap 24 out of 20, lap 24 out of 26. There 3 laps left to go in the Grand Prix, and this is where we'll see the top 2 fighting for the first time in this race as well, because I haven't really thought since the first lap of the Grand Prix when Keke took the lead in towards turn 1 and stayed ahead ever since then. But Wards is doing a really good job. I wonder if that was purposeful for Wards during the round of pit stops, because usually the undercut is quite powerful, and maybe he just wants to stay in second place the whole time, knowing that he wants to go on the last lap as Bolpia has got a 3-second penalty. So maybe it could have been purposeful for Wards to allow Keke to rejoin in front of him as Lars and Luke go side by side as Luke is off the track there. Back down the inside he goes. There's more contact between the two there. Let's see which one of these two get back to exit. Massive wheel spin between Luke and Lars as they continue their battle all the way out towards the loop, on towards the Wellington Straight they go. Lars with a bit more battery and ERS in his disposal is able to get past, but will Luke go back down the inside in towards Brooklyn. Lars goes a bit deep, and let's see if Lars has the move done now in towards Lovefield. I think Lars does. Nice move there from Lars. He puts himself up into P5. I didn't see the whole extent of it, but unfortunately I didn't see the whole extent of it. But now Lars is up into P5 ahead of the Haas driver, and Lucas is right behind too, ready to pass at any given moment. But he goes off the track, does the RP driver. This is where the Red Bull driver Nick really struggles in this particular part of the track. Look at that. Cutting corners as well, so it could be a 3-second penalty if you just have one more time. So Nick is really playing with challenges around here as well at Silverstone, really pushing hard to try and keep in the Ferrari's DRS range, try and keep the guys behind as well. Is this another podium for Lars? Could it be as well, because he's got some blistering pace? It could be a second podium in a row, like he did at Imola, where he was really struggling. He almost lost it too on the last lap of the Grand Prix. So there's a big fight for P3 going on. There's a fight for the lead of the Grand Prix now. Let's see what happens. It should get interesting between Wards and Keke. When will Wards decide to strike as well? Look at the ERS management from Wards. So he's down bad, unfortunately for him, has massive wheel spin out of the loop as well. So he's been sitting behind Keke the whole time, and now when it matters, he seems to be dropping backwards, and when it matters, he doesn't have the battery as well. So looks like Keke's ERS management and pace has been super good in this entire race there. He may well hold off the threats for Wards with the lack of battery he has compared to his battery, but Keke's on 70% as well. So good ERS management despite being leader of the Grand Prix for Keke. But the last lap is still among us. We've still got to wait to see what happens as we head towards Cops we go. And it's all about trying to get the best exits out of Chapel 2 for both drivers to try and attack and defend at the same time, as we now swoop towards Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel go. Lovely Stukas corners around here at the British GP as we now head on towards... I thought Wards for 1 second would go off the track. Wards does have the DRS, but the gap is 9/10 of a second. And Nick has got a 3-second penalty. He's been playing with challenges, like I said before. So unfortunately for him, he has a penalty in this race, and he'll drop backwards because there's a massive DRS train. Maybe fall back into P10. Is this the moment where Lars strikes on the Red Bull driver? Can he do it? He's not close enough. The Red Bull driver does have the DRS himself, and he's not able to get himself closer up to the back of the Red Bull either. But look at Keke. The gap is 1.5, 1.1. The track, well, there is 5.8 kilometers left to go around this circuit, and Keke has broke the DRS on the final lap of the Grand Prix. Despite Wards, he followed him all the way through, but Keke has decided to finally break the DRS and pull away as well. That shows you the mighty pace he has so far in this race. But Nick has been dropped backwards as a P8. He's off the gravel there. He's got a puncher. Nick has got a left foot puncher as well on the last lap of the Grand Prix, as Silverstone is quite known for having punchers, but that could explain as well the drop in pace, because he's having to put a lot of steering input in as well to try and make the corners, hence why he's having more weight on the left front tyre. So he's got a puncher, does Nick, and I really hope nobody else suffers a punches either, as he's fallen down to P12. It's a shame because the front wing damage as well, and the understeer will wear the tyres even more as well. If you put in more loaded to them, put more force and more energy to them as well, so therefore you get more wear. But it's a shame for Nick as well, running in such a good place in P3. We just don't know what happened where he picked up the damage. But this man now has been excellent, absolutely flawless and relentless in this race as well. He took the lead in towards turn 1 on the inside against Wards, and ever since then he hasn't looked backwards. Yes, he's maybe looking backwards in his rear wing mirror to see where Wards is, but on the last lap he decided to check out and show his true pace as well. As we make our way towards the final 3 corners, this could be a spectacular victory. His teammate picked up his first podium back at the last race in Imola, but Keke is coming towards the final corner. It is the finishman of Keke who wins the British GP for his first win of the season after a struggle. He has done it here in Silverstone. A mega drive there from the Williams driver. Wards finishes in P2. Here comes Papine for his first podium of the season too. Mega drive there from the Ferrari. Then there comes Lars and Luke and Lucas to round off there the top 10, as we see the rest of the drivers cross the line, as Mattia Manga's the last one to cross the line too. But what a shame for Nick and Polymachi. But Keke, congratulations, what a fantastic win for Williams too. He's had a very disappointing season. He picked up a puncher as well on the last lap in Imola, but here in Silverstone he's turned things around and he's given Williams a win, and it's a Williams 1-4. Both Lars van der Linden has been very consistent in terms of picking up the top 5 finishes like he's done in the last 3 races, but now we'll see if the things really start to change in the championship with Williams there really on good form so far. And Milan, it's been a really good race to commentate. I know there's not been a lot of battles as you usually see, but there was a few split-ups in the trains and people had their own groups as well, and that's why we didn't really see much action. But still, it's always a good race and I enjoyed it.
Absolutely, so did I as well. So a great race there by Keke, brilliant performance and a very well-deserved victory. I thought for a moment that Wards was going to be able to challenge him in the final stages of this race, but he was just at the pace advantage. He managed his ear as well and was able to pull away going on to that final lap of the race. So very well managed by the Williams, and congratulations to him for winning his first race of the season, and who knows if there's more to come later on in the season. But great race for him, great race altogether, and a great result for these guys on the podium. Keke, Wards and Pepijn in the Ferrari as well, doing a great job getting past Nick when he needed it most and able to hold on to that P3 and P4 position. He was getting chased by Luke and Arthur for the majority of that second stint, and he held them both off to finish on the podium as well. So great drive for all of these drivers, and sure was an entertaining and enjoyable race once again.
It was indeed, as Keke's only scored 1 point this season, but 16 points we added to his tally. Wards will get the point for taking pole as well, so we'll get the extra point for that, as Polymachi will get a point for the fast lap of the Grand Prix. But that concludes the British GP, a legendary track that's been around since the official F1 Championship, and before then too, in unofficial championships, and a former World War II base as well. But such an iconic circuit. Unfortunately, it's not government backed, as it's been into administrations for a long time, but luckily we got the green light to keep this race going, keep this event truly well and alive as well, and have enjoying races around here in Silverstone as well. One of the best tracks on the calendar, without being unbiased of course, because I'm a Brit of course, but I do mean that as well. I think this is truly one of the best tracks. But Milan, it is the next race of the season. It's going to be at the Hungarian Grand Prix, where you were last weekend, mate. So what's your thoughts on Hungary? It is a difficult track, super difficult, with a dirty air and barely anywhere to overtake.
Yeah, it is. It's for some reason it's called Paris, and sure it's really difficult to overtake, and it always has been. So it is a great driver's track, though. It's going to be great in qualifying as well, especially. But the race might be difficult to overtake. Unfortunately, I will not be there for the race, as I am going on holiday this Saturday, so I will be missing the next 2 races at least, and I will return for Texas, which will round 8. It's about in a month's time, which is when I will be back. But Hungary and Bahrain up next, and Hungary especially is going to be tricky for overtaking. So I hope that will be a great race for you as well to commentate, and I wish you the best for those 2 races, and I will be back for Texas in 3 rounds time. But in the meantime, it's been a pleasure once again, like it has been for all of these races this season, and ever since we started commentating together. So thank you very much, and it was a good one once again.
Yeah, same words echo yours as well, mate. Thank you very much for being there this season. Our commentary has been amazing. I've enjoyed every single race with you, and plenty more to come as well, especially in real life as well. So that's going to be some mega experience as well. But last words from me. I hope you enjoy your holiday, mate, wherever you're going, and I'll see you back in Texas.
Thank you, mate. See ya.
Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. It has been F3. Your race winner was Keke, and the next race is next Monday at 8 o'clock for F3 at the Hungarian Grand Prix. We'll see you all later. Bye for now.